Well, I didn't know. I didn't know it's from horses.
Well, it comes out of bones. Effectively, it's boiled out of bones.
Oh no!
Yeah. So
shattered. Right, carry on.
So that's an alternative that they use. So, and this is, I think, is where partly that idea comes from, that seaweeds help in water holding. So they help in things like heat protection, drought protection, and frost protection. But the two systems are probably slightly different. So in the heat protection, the seaweed tends to hold on a little bit more water. So if you get something like our Seamungus pellets and you throw them out, you'll see immediately they hold water and they change the water holding capacity of your soil.
Yep.
Like you had that caller this morning with his lawn, the thatch and the water repellency.
Yep.
So that's one way, but the actual frost protection that people talk about is probably slightly different. So what happens there is the seaweed tends to stimulate plants to actually hold more water in their leaves. And if you think about that, a large body of water obviously takes longer to freeze than a small body of water. So leaves, if they're turgid, so if they're full of water, they take a little bit longer to freeze than leaves that are suffering from water stress. So that's probably one of the reasons why seaweed gives you that level of protection. And what happens there is that at about -2, -4 degrees, you still get some protection. But then obviously if you get very, very cold weather, like -5, -6...
So you're talking frost.
Frost. Then seaweed doesn't offer that protection anymore, because basically the leaf freezes all the way through. And then there's obviously the growth benefits of seaweed. So, there's been a lot of talk about what it does and how it works. And there's still a little bit of a mystery exactly how it works. Now, obviously, one thing is that seaweed contains some of the micronutrients that have been washed out of our soils. So there's obviously some micronutrient value in seaweed itself. The other thing is that seaweed is rich in an amino acid called tryptophan. And tryptophan is a really interesting amino acid because it's an amino acid that plants can take up, and then they can use that amino acid to very quickly produce a plant growth hormone. So there's a plant growth hormone called auxin, or indole-3 acetic acid, or indole-3 butyric acid, depending on the slight variations. And so that's actually a hormone in a plant that stimulates root growth. So when you give your plant seaweed, we think that what happens is that they then take up that amino acid, and it's an easy path to produce plant growth hormones. So that's, because people are talking about additional stimulation. And the other thing is, of course, bacteria also use that amino acid. And the interesting thing about them is that bacteria also produce this plant growth hormone, but they don't produce it for the sake of the plant. They actually use it as a way of communicating with one another. So they use it as a signaling molecule. But the benefit of the plant is that if the bacteria are producing it in the soil, you stimulate root growth.
Where do they get this seaweed from?
So there's various places. We get ours from Tasmania, so it's basically
washed up.
It's washed up bulk health.
It's not harvested.
It's not
because
harvested.
it comes from miles down in the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Isn't it incredible?
So we get it from there. We also get it from down in Kingston. So we have two sources where we get it from. In Australia, obviously need special licenses to harvest the seaweed, because otherwise everyone would go out there and harvest it to death, so to speak.
So if no one harvested the seaweed, what would happen to it?
Well, eventually it will just rot down
and
in the
then
beach.
that gets washed back into the sea,
ocean.
and the cycle continues.
That's right, exactly.
So we're not breaking the cycle.
No. I mean, I think when you compare it to the amount of seaweed that's taken out,
it's minuscule.
It's actually quite small. And the majority of seaweed that's actually harvested in Australia ends up going to Asia for food products anyway.
Okay.
So effectively, what happens is the seaweed gets taken up, gets washed, it gets chipped, gets washed, gets chipped, and those chips are then sent off for food processing.
So connect it to our garden.
So in the garden, so if you want to use a seaweed product, obviously there's lots of them in the market. We have two products that contain seaweed. We obviously have Seamungus, which is our probiotic. So that has seaweed in it. It's got some humates in it. It's got some fish meal in it. So it's a combination of nutrients and a soil conditioner. And then obviously we got go-go juice. So go-go juice also has, but the advantage of go-go juice is obviously it's also got all those live bacteria and fungi in it at the same time. So you'll be able to give your plant some seaweed, and you'll be able to inoculate and put some life back in your soil. So they're our seaweed
So
products.
plants are helping plants in a way.
Well, that's right. I guess seaweed isn't truly a plant, but yes, I guess so. Yes.
It's not classified as a plant?
No.
Okay.
No, because it doesn't flower, it doesn't have a vascular system. It's quite different. Sorry.
No.
Getting into the technical details here.
Oh, that's it. Oh, I love hearing all those stories because it's so natural, isn't it?
Yes.
You haven't got this big chemical factory pumping out stuff, and it comes from the sea. It's processed just by chopping it up and drying it, and that's it.
Yeah. Essentially, like I said, traditionally people used to just collect it off the beach and wash it and put it in their garden and wait for it to break down.
It's very heavy, isn't it? I've picked some up. It weighs a ton.
That's because there's all that water that it holds. Yeah. You can see it.
Uwe, as always, great stuff. Thank you for coming in.
No problem.
You got something to give away?
Yeah, we got a bottle of Seamungus and a bottle of go-go juice to give away. So if somebody wants to, great now for your autumn gardening, if you're putting your brassicas in or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep, all your cauliflowers or whatever, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Very good.
Uwe, thank you for coming in. People can get in touch with you at Neutrog.
info@neutrog.com.au or get onto our Facebook page. They can leave a message or some questions there, so, yep.
Terrific.
No, Uwe gave us
from Neutrog. Yes, sorry.
You gave us a joke to finish with too. Why was the sand wet, Michael?
Because the seaweed. It's old.
He gave it to me on the way in. I said, I'll finish with it, Uwe. No dramas. He didn't want to do it.
Somebody told me a great joke at work. It's a great dad science joke. So,
give it to us.
Where do bad rainbows go?
Bad?
Rainbows.
No.
Into a prison.
Oh, yes.
I think you got to get another life.
All the science nerds are.
You got to get out of that petri tray and...
That is very good.
You need to go to Tony Sanso's restaurant more often.
Dr. Uwe Stroeher, we love his work, we hate his gags. From Neutrog, you can find out more at neutrog.com.au, available at all good hardware and garden stores.
Garden looking a bit drab? Rejuvenate it with Seamungus from Neutrog. Jam-packed full of goodness, Seamungus can be applied year-round to all your garden plants, including natives and their